Hey everybody, welcome back to The Drop. We're so happy that you're here. We are ready to drop some truth and bring some life in your day, in your week. And so we're just so happy to be here with you guys. I'm Karina, and this is my dad, John Arana. Pastor John, Dad, Papa, many names.
Papa John.
Papa John. And I love being here with him, and I love the topic we're on right now because it's about protecting your family, the health of your family.
I love it.
We're creating our family culture,
Exactly.
But being intentional with it. And we've talked about so many good things. I think this might be our 5th episode on this topic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't catch like the first 4, make sure.
Man, they're so good. They're so practical.
But they're really good.
I think you'd get a lot out of it.
Yeah, and just start practicing little things that you're catching from it, But today we're going to talk about something that, for me, is like at the core of a healthy family. Which is a healthy marriage.
That's the key.
Yeah, a healthy marriage is super important.
There's a plaque that I have in my house, at the office at the house, that says... I think I told you this before. I don't know. I've said it so many times I forget.
It's okay.
But it says the best thing that a father can do for his children is to love their mother.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And show it and example it. Make sure they're showing things.
But the bottom line is, your spouse is first.
Yeah. Oh,
your marriage is first, and it has to be attended as a priority.
It has to be.
Even if you have kids, obviously. I've heard a lot of women say, well, I'm a mother first. And I would say, well, I beg to differ there. You were a wife first.
Yes.
And then you were a mother.
Then you're a mother.
And again, women are more prone to this, but men have a different propensity. But women have a tendency to just throw themselves into the life of their children because they want to be good mothers.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I honor that. Right. But sometimes they go too far.
Yeah.
And they basically forget about their husband.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, hey, if I have some time, later tonight, I'll have a conversation with you.
Yeah, or he just gets pushed down and down and down.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is easy to do as a mom. I can totally speak to this. It's easy for that to happen on its own because, as a mom, even if you work, there's just things that your kids come to you because you're the mom,
Yeah, I mean, you're basically running the household.
Yeah, and
most of the time.
Women are running the household.
And they do an amazing job,
because
most of them.
we're gifted to do that.
Yeah.
We're gifted to do that. And the men run the things they run, and
Sure.
they do that well as well. But as a mom, I've had to learn how to, a big thing for me is how to, the best that I can, conserve my energy throughout the day so that at the end of the day, I have something to give to my husband.
Sure,
I have conversation. I have attention. I have, something that I can give. And, it's hard. There's some days that you just don't. As a mom, you're like, I'm exhausted.
I'm exhausted.
I'm going to bed, put the TV on, good night, sort of thing.
And there's time that's very legit.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's very legit.
But that can't be every day, all the time, the norm.
A norm.
There has to be intentional time, and you have to find what works for you.
And that's why I always encourage people to have a date night.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't have to be every week,
right.
but
nice.
Man, you have to be intentional. And again, people say, well, man, how do I do that? I'm so busy. I got work, I got kids, I got softball, I got soccer, I got this and I got that. And I tell people it's easy. You set up the structure of your life. Nobody else sets it up.
Yeah.
And if you have no room in your structure for your marriage, then that's a bad structure.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, whatever, if my kids have soccer on Tuesdays and Thursdays, fine. We're going all out. But then on Friday is my date night.
Yeah.
And that's my structure.
Yeah.
And so,
That's so
it
good.
is the structure that protects you from getting way out of balance.
Yeah. Right.
And so,
Yeah.
you know,
You have to have it. You have to have it, and I think you have to learn, depending on the stage of life you're in,
Yeah.
that it's gonna look, that structure will look a little different.
Oh, it'll change
per season. You
Oh,
know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
it'll change, sure.
And so, like, something my husband and I try to do. We don't do it every week, but we try
Yeah.
to have a night of the week where, you know, after the kids go to bed, we go to our bedroom and there's no TV, there's no phone.
Oh, that's good.
And we just try to just talk.
Talk.
You know, we
That's good.
sometimes we'll start like talking about the week, like, okay,
Right.
so and so has this, and you do that, I do
Right.
this, and we'll
Right,
go here
right.
and we'll do that, and then, you know,
Which has to be done.
right? Which has to be done, and then sometimes one of us will be like, you know, well, how are you? How are
Yeah.
you doing?
How's
you
it
know,
going?
how's this going
Sure.
with this? You
How's
know, kind of like a
work or
touch
whatever.
base and a lot of times we'll just talk for a good while,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
good.
and so, and we're still tired, you know, we're tired when we're doing it. We're always tired
Of
at
course.
night because we both work and
When
we
you-
have
and you-
kids,
oh,
you know?
yeah, that's right.
And so it's like never a night that we're not tired.
Right,
you know,
right.
once we
People say, yeah,
actually-
but I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, hey, listen, man, we're all tired.
Yeah, everyone's tired, you know, like, and it's just kind of that saying, like, you make time
Yeah.
for what's important to you.
That's it.
And that's really the bottom line.
That's for your, that's
you know?
it. And I think there's certain elements
Yeah.
that will always be there,
Yeah.
but the structure will change. And I like what you said.
Yeah.
Because when you're newlyweds, you don't have any kids.
No, yeah.
And so,
so
but
easy.
the elements that are universal is time for your marriage,
Yeah.
time with the Lord.
Yeah.
Well, time with the Lord
That's-
first.
yeah, yeah.
Let's get it
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Time with the Lord
Lord.
first, time with your marriage, time with yourself, time with your kids. Those are all elements that have to happen.
Yeah.
How they happen, what kind of
Right.
structure you have,
Right.
it's going to change,
Yeah.
you know, throughout the years.
Yeah.
But, but the Bible says submit one to another.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's had a dirty rap. You know, a lot of people,
Yeah, a lot of people
use it for
distort it.
control
They
and,
distort it,
and
yeah.
manipulation. But really what that means is come under, submit.
To each
means
other.
come under the mission of the other. In other words,
Right.
I am responsible to allow Karen to function the way God created her.
Yeah.
That's her mission, and I have to submit to that. I have to welcome that. I have to facilitate that as well, and vice versa, you
Yeah.
know. But when we are constantly competing and we are constantly, you know, arguing and constantly, you know, having a difficult time with that relationship, then that shows us that something is broken down.
Yeah.
Something's broken down. And so I think that
That's true.
that takes us to the next
Yeah.
point, which is actually fighting for your marriage.
Yeah.
Not fighting in the marriage,
yeah.
but fighting for your
Yeah.
marriage.
Yeah,
which is
no,
a little
this
different.
is, and you know, this is something that every marriage has to, like, you have to do this.
Yeah.
You have to do this.
If you wanted to
If you
grow
want to
and get
continue
better
to
and
be
healthy.
married. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to grow, you want
Yeah.
to continue to be married,
Yeah.
because every marriage has its ups and downs. Every marriage has its good and bad. Every
Yeah.
marriage has its pain and joys.
Yes.
It's like there's no marriage that is just like good all the time and nothing is ever wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
if somebody tells you that, then they're not being honest.
If somebody tells me,
When, you
and I've
know?
heard a few people in my life
Yeah.
say,
Oh,
my husband and I have never had an argument. And I'm like, how boring.
that means a lot of things, I think. When you say you've never had an argument.
Come on.
Or you never
yes,
fight.
exactly.
You know, like, I mean, two people together, they're
Come
gonna
on.
disagree.
And usually opposites attract.
Exactly.
You know,
you know.
And then they attack.
Exactly. So fighting for your marriage, this is something that is huge to the health of a family.
Yeah.
Because there's times that you're going to have to push through things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's...
I think if people want to simplify things and get to the bottom line, I would say, bottom line, the woman needs to feel love.
Yeah.
And the man needs to feel respected.
Yep.
And if we just keep those two in mind, you know, and again, nobody lives in a perfect world.
Right.
So nobody's got this down 100%.
Right.
But if we just simplify it and say, okay, man, I got to do so many things, but let's keep it simple. What is the one thing? Then, hey, I'm responsible to make sure my wife feels loved.
Yeah,
now, I'm not responsible for all her feelings,
Right.
but I am responsible to love her. Means act in a way that's going to benefit her.
That's so good. That's
And then
so
the
good.
same thing with her. She is responsible to
respect.
show respect.
Yeah.
You know, value my opinion. You know, value my actions, or acknowledge, you know, my contribution, or whatever. However that translates.
That's so good. That's so good. And I think, you know, this fighting for your marriage part is really key. And there's times that this love and respect thing, that you have to be willing to do what your spouse needs.
Yeah.
And do what's right.
Yeah.
Even if you're not getting what you need. And you're not getting what's right for you.
Yeah.
You have to have boundaries. You have to communicate. You have to. But what I'm saying is, fighting for your marriage is, you have to evaluate yourself and take responsibility for you and say, am I doing what I need to do to fight for my marriage? Am I doing my part?
Exactly.
You know, because that's all I can control.
And I think for me personally, the fight is not against my spouse.
Correct.
The fight is against myself.
Yeah.
And my pride.
Yeah.
That doesn't want to do it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's
That's
like,
good. That's
it's
good.
like the other day,
That's good.
you know, Karen swept, you know, our the floor in the kitchen and the living room. We have tiles, you know.
Except
But anyhow, she swept it, and then she gathered all the pile in one corner.
Yeah.
And she just left it there, you know. And I'm thinking, well, she'll probably going to pick it up later.
She's going to get to it.
Well, one day went by, she didn't pick it up.
Oh my God.
And I literally was saying, I'm not picking that up. She needs to finish what she starts, you know? And I'm thinking in my mind.
Yeah,
you know?
principle.
It's like, if I keep doing it for her.
The principle is.
Yeah, if I keep doing it for her, then I'm enabling her,
Oh my
you know?
gosh.
And
I refuse to do this.
and I was, but part of her love language is acts of kindness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I'm not doing this, man. I'm not nobody's fool here, you know? And finally, after like the second day, the Holy Spirit kept saying, oh I see. Mm-hmm. I see. So it's tit for tat. Is that how you're going to live your life? Is that how you're going to? And I realized, oh, man, it's just pride. You know, it's just pride.
Right,
and so I said, love, because love is to benefit the other person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right.
Right.
So I went, got the dustpan, picked it up. and
Probably took you like 10 seconds.
And immediately she noticed. So I'm thinking, she noticed that pile the whole time.
She saw it every time.
She just didn't want to pick it up.
Didn't get
She
it.
said,
I'll get to it later.
I swept it. I'll get it whenever I want. and you know, and
that's good. That's a very good example. So
it brings
funny.
the thought that the first school of love and forgiveness that our kids experience is at home.
Is us. Oh my gosh, yes.
You know?
There have been times that, you know, my husband and I, we would get into an issue, get into a fight in front of the kids, you know, and now that all our kids are getting older, you know, some of them, like we've learned, if we're having a disagreement in front of them, they'll start piping in. And we're like, but at the same time, I'm like, well, we're fighting in front of them.
Yeah.
And so in a way, we're involving them.
Exactly
because
right.
we're doing it in front of them.
That's right.
And so we've had to learn as they get older.
Yes.
Especially if it's a fight that we have to resolve later or in private.
Right.
We have to go back to our kids and say, hey, we just want you to know that we talked and we resolved it. Mommy and Daddy are good.
Yeah.
We're good now.
There you go.
And,
That's
I
important.
said I was sorry for blank to Daddy, and Daddy said he was sorry for me. You know, because we've had to learn, like, if they just see us fight or disagree, but they don't know how we resolved it.
Exactly.
They're just seeing the fight.
Yes.
And it creates an insecurity in them.
It does.
Is dad even sometimes when I haven't done that, Grace is
They're
very
like,
empathetic.
What's happening?
She'll
What's
ask
happening?
me at bedtime, "Are you and Daddy okay?
Yeah.
Are you
yeah.
guys still fighting?" Or Leo will be like, "Oh my gosh, is this gonna turn into another argument?" He'll say that right there in front of everybody, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, no,
nothing like kids, man.
I'm like, no, Leo, we're just discussing, we're fine, and he's like, okay.
Listen, and you know what? I mean, if you're honest, every couple has their arguments.
Course.
Every couple's, and I think to a certain extent, and to a small measure, it's good for the kids to see the couple arguing.
Yeah, I think so too.
But it's good for them to see them resolve.
It has to stay healthy.
Yes, because then the kids realize, hey, it's normal.
This is normal.
But this is how you resolve it, and this is how you maintain your relationship healthy.
If I get into an argument, this is how I fix it. This is how I resolve it, and that is huge. That
it's
is
really
huge,
good. It's really good.
But the love and forgiveness is huge with fighting for your marriage, and I think as your kids get older, understanding as a married couple that your kids are starting to pick up on things maybe that they didn't when they were little. And you have to be very cautious of that, because that is also a part of protecting your family.
Absolutely,
is showing them. We're gonna disagree,
sure,
but we love each other,
and
we're always gonna work it out.
That's right.
And it may not be pretty all the time. And if we're wrong, we're gonna make it right. And if we're wrong in front of the kids, we gotta go make it right in front of our kids.
That's it. That's good. That's good. And I think that paints a real healthy picture of reality. Because everyone has disagreement, everyone has argument, and it's how you handle it. Do you look for a solution together? Do you compromise a little bit here and a little bit there? That is all training for the kids. I mean, when they see what's happening and how the home is handled, and that grows healthier adults.
That's right.
Healthier adults.
True.
A lot of times in church, we see, people dragging all that dysfunction because of the way their home was, the way their home operated. And you can see that they're full of insecurity and full of fears. And it's sad because most people need healing because of that background. But if you're willing to prioritize your marriage, then you will prioritize your family.
That's good.
And if you make first things first, then God will honor the rest. And I think obviously your relationship with God is first, your relationship with your spouse second, your children third, your job or ministry fourth. And that's just how it needs to stay. And if it stays that way, it's not a perfect world.
Right.
But if it stays that world and we keep working that, I'm telling you, the results are going to be there. And the health of the family will be there in the protection.
Definitely.
But anyhow, I think that's enough for one day.
Yes, this was good.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for being at the drop. Yes. Hey, listen, we just want to encourage you to help us out and share the link with a friend. Let people know that there's a word that's encouraging, practical, that can help and encourage them and give them a little boost during the middle of the week. But just click, say you like it, share it with a friend, and help us out to get the word out here at The Drop.
Yes. All right, we'll see you guys here next week. Same time, same place.
Yeah.